I'm Zach.
I'm Bobby.
I'm Jesse.
And I'm Brent.
You're watching
Talking Mars on Now You Know.
Welcome everybody to Talking Mars, episode 2. So again, spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about the entire episode, so if you have not seen episode 2 yet, shut this off, go watch it, and come back.
Alright.
So, did not realize that this was going to be a medical show.
Right.
Yeah.
If you've, it's like they started filming the show, and then they watched The Martian, and were like, "Hey, we need to have a surgery scene." It was, ugh.
Yeah.
What is it with these surgery scenes?
It's not like.
Yeah,
honestly, they could show the first, quarter second where they, start
Right.
scalpeling him, and then they could just cut to anything because I'm not watching.
They
They
gotta
just
show
cut to black. It could cut to
pouring
ponies.
blood.
Did not
ugh.
see that coming though. I still kind of don't believe that he's dead. I
Yeah.
think Ben Sawyer is gonna, maybe he's gonna pull through.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't. That's.
He's gonna be like, I'm still a captain!
Yeah, I thought he was gonna be like such a main character because the way they kind of built his background.
Yeah.
I think that's creative.
I'm really psyched that there's an Asian woman commander. I think that's an awesome message to be sending.
So now
Yeah.
is her name's Hana, and her twin sister's name is June.
June, yeah.
And so June is back on Earth. She's in charge of Capcom. So that's communications
Right.
between the space ship and them. Is this the same actress? Do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. Comment below if you know if this is the same actress playing twins or if it's twins playing twins.
Yeah. I think it was really powerful, that line that the sort of, I don't know what you'd call him, the guy who's kind of funding it, the whole thing.
Oh yeah, the French guy?
Yeah, the French guy. He came in and he was like, the reason I picked you is because you have a personal attachment.
Right.
And I need someone else on this mission to feel the way I do
Sort of
about
has
these
to
people.
feel
It wasn't like that typical, get your emotions in check.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
This is about the greater good of mankind.
Right, right.
Not no, it was about the people, because those people are the ones, going out on the journey, and they are important as
Right.
everyone else.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Yeah.
I liked that they cut back to 2015 and showed astronaut Scott Kelly going up to the International Space Station and tied those two stories together. I mean,
Right.
I didn't realize that he was in space for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
I think it's really powerful, and also that they cut also to his daughter and how she's basically just waiting for him to come home.
Yeah, did you see that there was a little food, Chinese fortune
Yeah, the
cookie
fortune
thing
cookie.
that was hanging, and it said, "Determination is what you need now."
Yeah.
And I thought
That was interesting.
that sums up this show.
There were a lot of parallels between the 2016 cuts and the story. I mean, even what was it, Sean Kelly? Or
Scott
Kelly.
Yeah.
Even Scott Kelly, I mean, he was a twin too.
Right.
And they have one
Mark
that has
Kelly and
brother.
Scott Kelly.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting that they kind of kept it to very similar.
Right.
It was related, it wasn't just random.
Right.
And I mean, okay, I admit it, I teared up again when Scott Kelly landed, and he'd spent a year in space for us, to find out what would happen to his body, and then he didn't have the muscle mass to even kind of climb out of the space capsule, right? He had to be kind of lifted out.
It's very interesting. So the way that astronauts right now are traversing, going to the space station and coming home, is on the Soyuz capsule. So you sort of see him taking off in the Soyuz. It's a Russian vessel. It's been used for decades. And then, the way that the capsule works is, so the Apollo missions landed in the ocean, and then the U.S. Navy swooped in and picked them up. But for the Soyuz, it's made to land on land. So it has parachutes and everything, and then at the very end it has rocket boosters.
Oh, that's
the
why it's all
batteries.
charred. Oh, I didn't
Goes
go. Okay.
well, also because it's
Oh, it's
falling
yeah.
through the Earth's atmosphere.
Re-entry.
And then they land just in the middle of Kazakhstan,
And you have to go find them?
the Russians have to go find them. Yeah,
I wonder if they have a tracker on it or something.
I wonder how long you're waiting.
it's
You keep going call him again. Just call him again.
right because you can't.
My
lift
diaper is
yourself-
full.
You can't lift yourself out of your seat.
Wow. And
That's
you're waiting
crazy.
for Russians to find you.
Yeah.
I would feel so
You gotta get
claustrophobic in a situation
So
like that.
helpless.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're stuck in this very tiny capsule
Right.
with 3 other people, or 2 other people.
Wow.
So
So can we talk about they've landed. Ben Sawyer has an injury. He didn't tell anyone until later, and now they found out he has the injury, and so now they're faced with the choice of what to do. Right? They can stay in. Oh, and by the way, the rover has broken an axle.
Yeah, and so of course it had to have a malfunction on the way there.
16 kilometers away.
Yeah.
But,
It
okay,
really,
so
I mean,
They're making this seem like a drama.
I don't like how drama-ish it is. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand that you need to have some kind of, like, conflict, but I feel like even if everything went perfectly, there'd still be conflict.
But I like the fact that there's some tough choices you have to make. Okay, so guys, we're in the rover. The axle is broken. We're 16 kilometers away. I am dying. And I command you to just stay in the rover, which didn't quite understand that. What's the point of staying? They only had like 4 hours of life support in the rover, right?
Well, they had to recharge the batteries so that they could continue. That's why they wanted to stay there.
Right? Their suits need recharging.
Yeah.
But wouldn't they just die in the rover if they stayed in the rover?
I don't know.
Wasn't quite getting that.
They're trying to create this storyline that feels too complicated.
Why didn't he
It's
command
just
that they leave him behind?
Right.
If they left him behind, they would have made it easily to the workstation.
Right.
So, is there not a protocol for that?
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, wouldn't you have trained? Oh, Brent's dying. Just leave him. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, Brent. We're gonna build a nice school in your name.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think
Also,
that,
not to have medical supplies with you on the ship. I mean, how much weight does that take?
I mean, every ounce counts. But I mean,
But they ended up leaving all of their supplies. Remember, they're pulling this
True.
cart full of supplies, and then I thought Ben was on that. And then later, when Ben can't walk anymore, they're like, "Oh!" In the next scene, he's on the cart, which
Right.
means they must have ditched
Dumped
all their
all
supplies.
those.
Yeah.
How valuable were the supplies?
Yeah.
it was,
Or were those just like CDs they wanted for them?
it's kind
They
of
did
strange.
pack up all those like personal belongings.
Right,
in the
there's, like,
previous episode
pictures.
before they
Right.
left.
And
yeah.
they didn't talk about. I don't think that they really showed the spaceship enough and what was in it. So you have the
Daedalus?
crew. You have the,
Yeah.
You have the cabin where everyone goes when they're doing the spacey stuff. But then you should also be having like an exercise place where you're exercising so that you're ready to walk around when you get to Mars. Because I mean, 8 months, it's a long time to not be exercising and being in 0G. Your bones and muscles start to degrade.
Yeah.
They didn't. I mean, they talked about that in terms of like Scott Kelly, of how. But like on the space station, there are bicycles and stuff where you can be, doing weight exercises.
They're like kind of skipping the things that I thought they'd show. Like for me personally, I'm more interested in seeing the beginning of the terraforming. I want to see how they're starting to get the civilization going. I want to see how they. I want to see like.
Well, we got more episodes.
Living. We have more episodes,
True, but I don't
for
think
me it feels
that's
like
the
they're
purview of the
focusing
mission.
on this group, which is great. But like I assume that there's going to be some challenges, and I assume that they're going to like get to know each other.
You want to fast forward to when the
I wanna-
cruises start.
I want to see the
Really?
bigger picture. I don't want to see their adventure,
Right.
Especially since it's not the real people that it's going to be. You know?
Right. Yeah. To me, it's
Wait,
like.
what? It's not.
But I mean, like this mission is so. They've stripped it so much. There's almost no science in it.
That's exactly like
They,
I want to see
I mean,
science.
they'll be like, they'll cut back to 2016 and talk about the challenges,
Right.
and talk about the science a little bit, but there's no like. There's none of them seem to be having any good ideas during the thing. They're just like, we're gonna have to walk. It's just like, okay, how about you come up with a different solution? Like, wait, if I take 12 of the batteries, strip them all together, and we could weld or do something, or I'll make a 3D printer.
Maybe
like,
they didn't want it to be like The Martian, though. Like, maybe they wanted it to be more...
But I mean, that's what I loved about The Martian, was that he's like...
He's a scientist.
He's a scientist. It doesn't feel like any of them are smart. It feels like if all 4 of us landed on Mars and we're having all these problems.
Hey!
Well, I mean, like a bunch of untrained people. Like, it just seems like... It feels like they're actors. It really feels like they're actors, especially when they're juxtaposed with, like, Elon Musk and experts in their field. They feel very fake to me.
Yeah, that's
maybe
why I like
maybe
seeing
they're
it.
sacrificing. I mean, maybe they weren't supposed to really make it. Maybe it's a test.
There's plenty of smart people. And
I know, but maybe
plenty
don't
of them
send
would
the
wanna
smart
go.
people first.
Yes,
maybe
you do.
second.
Yeah,
You
right,
send
yeah.
the
Smartest
smartest learn what can
people.
go wrong.
Personally, for me, I feel like the more interesting parts of the show are the 2016 aspects.
I
It's
do like
very-
those a lot.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think
Maybe
that
that's the key. Maybe they're
It's,
trying to get you hooked, but you're actually being taught the
right.
motivational
I
stuff.
definitely think that for a layman watching, like if you wanted to have one of your friends who was not into science that much, but could watch
This
a
could hook
drama.
them, right.
It would hook them, and then they would learn something.
Yeah, this is the.
It's the
Yeah, it's
right.
the whole
element.
And I feel like this episode in particular really focused on the human element of it,
Right.
you know, especially with Scott Kelly and his story with the daughter and him, and
That's
just
true.
really kind of putting into focus like what that would be like to be separated from your people you care about for a full year and like the isolation of that.
Also, why don't we have a reality TV show about Scott in space? Like, we have the Kardashians, and we have all these shows about boring people on Earth.
Right.
I didn't even know much about him and his mission, and I mean, that would be... He can communicate with us,
Right.
and we've got awesome footage, so like...
And another thing is, he's not on its own. Like,
Right, there's
there are
two
plenty of other people on the space station.
Right.
And
I know they could have hijinks.
Well,
and
have
they
you
can
seen the Canadian guy who's in space? He
Yeah.
has the YouTube channel.
Hatfield. Mhm.
That's a really cool YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I feel like
He's back on Earth now.
yeah.
Right.
And he's been doing a lot of really cool and awesome stuff. But yeah, why isn't this covered in the mainstream media? It's never covered in the mainstream media.
And I think the next time that kids get an assignment from a science teacher to do a model of the solar system, it should be like Ben Sawyer's
Real
dad.
life model.
And your dad should take you out to the
I mean,
freaking
it's-
desert and drive around
Yeah,
all
that
day.
was
so cool.
And it was
That
only
was super
like a
cool.
3-second shot.
They really could have focused on that a little bit more.
That
I've
was
seen that
amazing.
before on something, and it was. I remember the first time I saw it, it was like, oh my god, like imagining like the scale in terms of what we can perceive, like in front of us.
Right.
That's insane. The size of that little marble, and you gotta think that's how far away they are from home. And I think there were some cool themes with Ben's father being dead. I think we kind of found out that his father was dead, and he sort of met him at the top of the hill, and that was like him sort of walking into the afterlife.
True.
And I thought it was cool that they were sort of almost like, do you remember Interstellar? How the part of the theme toward the end was that there's this
Potential
this
spoilers
force,
for Distiller, so watch out.
Spoilers for Interstellar.
That's been out
There
for
was
a while.
force of nature that surpasses distance, and it's kind of like love. And I thought that was really interesting that they were showing him meeting his father at the top of the hill, almost like that distance doesn't matter because they're still together.
Right.
True.
And I thought that was really cool.
That was
an emotional part for me that I thought was really good.
Yeah, first human buried on Mars.
I
Yeah,
think that
yeah.
I'm just
First
I'm-
one struck
I'm-
in, first one to die.
I feel like I'm just really frustrated with movies and TV and how they choose to portray space travel. It's never. I mean, I know that space travel can be boring if it's not put in the right context, and so they think, oh, how can we spice this up? Oh, we'll have like in Gravity, they had all the satellites smashing each other, and she's stuck in space. And then in Interstellar, they have all sorts of problems.
Jumping into the black hole.
Right, and so I mean, Interstellar wasn't even that scientific.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a part where he's flying through.
But I think, I mean, what they have to walk this line, right, between, trying to attract people like you who want to see all the intricacies in the science and people who want to see more of a story, and so they've merged the two, and I think they're doing a pretty good job. I mean, this episode was a little too medical for me,
here's what I'm worried about, is that people will constantly see space travel as being incredibly dangerous, which it is, but it can be so much more than just like, we're gonna crash on the thing, or you are hurt, or it can be like,
everything can go well. Like,
everything can go well,
There's
and
a
still be very difficult.
Very fine line that it feels like they're sort of swaying. Like I guess, like what you said, you have to have that danger, that fear, which they explain a lot. Like, oh, like this is like you need to sacrifice yourself in order for the greater good of the humanity, and sort of putting that in perspective, making like you feel like that could happen to you or someone you know is important, but at the same time, it's like they kind of go too far. And
and I'm afraid that you're scaring people away from space travel.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but if you're scaring away the lighthearted, the faint-hearted, then I think that quote we heard from Ronald Reagan in the movie, which was, "The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted; it belongs to the brave." I mean, maybe we want to scare off those pansies and let the
True, but
the
it's
brave
their.
go.
Good
It's you need the pansies funding.
True. Well, they'll stay home.
But I mean, they're not going to think that it's worth it if they think that everyone's going to die. And I think that that's the issue, is that most of these, in Interstellar, in The Martian, I guess no one dies in The Martian, or like in Gravity, there's all these people getting in huge trouble. And like, I feel like even the monotonous kind of like they get to this workshop, right, that's on Mars. It's not going to be like ready. It's like someone was already there waiting for them or something. Right. It's not the getting to grandma's house kind of thing. Like, you have to be turning on generators and turning on pumps.
They got there and it was so cold that his plasma and blood would have frozen.
Right, like there should have been those would have been real issues, and they just sort of gloss over them.
Right.
And they don't really get the gravity right of Mars. Like,
I want to talk about that. So what's the gravity on Mars?
It's about the third of Earth.
Okay, so I know that they were in space for a long time and their muscles had atrophied. So were they trying to show that the gravity's lower, but yet their muscles are atrophied, so it's kind of a wash? Is that what they're trying to show? Because, I don't know, 16 kilometers, yes, that's a long distance, but if you have a third the gravity, that means I weigh 60 pounds.
It didn't even look.
You wouldn't be plodding along. Like, you could be taking much longer strides. Right. You can be, jouncing along.
And it looked just so normal. You're walking through Arizona.
Right. I mean, it's hard to imagine what 1/3 the gravity would feel like. But I mean, like, I could just lift this table with one hand, just grab it, and just bring it up. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the inertia would be there, and that's kind of like an interesting feeling. But I feel like in most shows that take place on Mars, we never get to see that. Right? Yeah. We just, because we're filming on Earth, we stick with the Earth gravity. Right. But, 1/3 the gravity, he could be, lifting the rover up. Or two of them could lift the rover up and move it or do something.
Right.
The way I feel about it is kind of like, part of me thinks like it's frustrating to see that like they don't get everything exactly right. Where it's like, they should be talking about this scientifically or this and that. But the other part of me feels like it's not an ad to get people to go to Mars. It's not like a promotion thing like, oh, this is going to make people want to go to Mars. I feel like the people who want to go to Mars know they want to go to Mars and are going to go to Mars. Like Ben, for example, was like, I just wanted to go to space since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think that people watching something like this documentary are going to be swayed to go.
This might be, though, the first time that some people, 10-year-olds, 8-year-olds, would even get the idea of like, wait, what?
This could happen, yeah.
Mars.
Right. I mean, and it shows in the movie that he's a kid basically around
now
when we were kids. Like, he must have been born around 1995, 1997 or so.
Yeah,
93. I think he's about 40 years old in 2033.
Right. So he's a 90s kid.
Right.
90s baby.
And they don't really bring that up much, which I thought would be interesting to realize that this is in the future.
Right.
Yeah. And that he has memories that, my generation of people would have.
Yeah.
That would be kind of interesting.
Well, that's the question. So, like, in the 60s, late 60s, when we were going to the moon, there were kids watching that on television and probably getting dreams in their minds. And then we had the space shuttle in the 80s. But then, to me, there's a big void in the 90s. I don't know if you feel it that way, where it didn't feel like there was much human activity that was getting a lot of publicity. I mean, we had the International Space Station recently, but in the 90s, in the early 2000s, it didn't feel like there was much going on. So I wonder if there was kind of a void in children growing up.
Definitely.
Did you feel that? Like, was space?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think space exploration was a big deal for me. Like, it felt like, they went to the moon back, with JFK, and we're gonna get to the moon. We're gonna beat the Russians there, and all that stuff. But yeah, it definitely felt like a distant thing. And then the more interesting stuff when I was growing up was just kind of watching documentaries about deep space and like more the unknown stuff, like what could be out there, but like not like actually working towards like
it was all
getting
historical.
There.
It was all like we went to the moon.
That's like the things we did, and then all the things that we're curious about. That,
and I feel like there was a lack of leadership. I feel like the President Kennedy said we're going to the moon, and a lot of people were like, "What? That guy's a nut. We're not going to make it to the moon." And we did. 10 years later, miraculously, we did. Mm-hmm. But since then, there's been no leader who had said, let's keep doing this. I mean, yes, we just heard Obama clips there, but I think it was almost like it had already was happening when he came out and said, oh, yeah, by the way, sure, let's go to Mars. Like, I think it was really Elon that said, I'm setting up this whole company with my money and figuring out all this new technology because I want to get to Mars.
Elon Musk is just an amazing human being. Like, it's incredible to see someone with so much drive and like talking about the people on this planet, like as a species, how we're always like inspired to go to the next thing and seize the next opportunity. And it's like, here's a guy who's leading the path. Here's a guy who's like taking all these ideas and making them real.
Right.
And not a lot of people do that now.
And I
Like,
think that we've really lost that. During the
Yeah.
space race and when we went to the moon, there were all these speeches that were given on the moon that talked about for all mankind. And that's a word that isn't used enough, I think, now, of all mankind. It's us, it's them, it's we, it's they. It's never like, you know, we never think about all of us. And I think that the important thing that we gained, you know, they always say that we went to the moon and discovered the Earth. You know, the picture of the Earth from the moon is really, was the first time that we all, you know, that picture had every single person on Earth on it. You know, they were all there in one picture, and no one had ever seen that before. And that wasn't even a concept.
I know, it was the first time that humanity actually got that concept that we're all involved together.
There's no borders. It's all
and you can
the
see
same.
that thin atmosphere, and you just realize
You're like, shit, that's really not big enough.
right.
You know, that's not
as big as we think we are.
It's not as big and as safe and as massive as we think it is, because when you zoom out and you're at scale, it's like, oh wow.
And there are practical and dire reasons to like go to Mars. It's not just like something we want to do.
Right.
It's like they said something in I think it was the first or second one. They said it's something that we want to need to do. And it's like, yes, we do want to need to go to Mars. We need to find that reason why we have to go, because then that's the only way it's going to happen. Is if we feel the drive and the pressure to go.
And I mean, I think I already feel that with climate change and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Do you think there's a split though between older generation and younger generation? So you guys could potentially, you could dream tonight about being on Mars and it could come true.
Right.
Some cutoff happens around my age where it's like, well, even if we can do it, I won't be able to experience it. So why should I care?
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if that's going on at all. Like, I wonder if there's an older generation who's like, well, that's your thing. You go worry about that. I'm not going to get to experience it.
I feel like it's the type of person though. I feel like there are some people who, if they don't benefit from it, they don't care, and I think that there's a large proportion of people that are like that. But I think that there are plenty of older people. I mean, most of the scientists and people who are talking in the thing, you know, are too old to go to Mars. And I mean, like, it's not going to be exceptionally glamorous to be on Mars.
Right.
It's going to be, you know, a lot of
Drinking your own pee.
right, being indoors, kind of like, it's not going to be this, you know, Wild West kind of thing. It's the
It could be.
Yeah.
but it's not, because I mean, like, there's just
I'm bringing
so
my
much.
horse.
There's so much crap that is different.
Yeah.
So I mean, the advances really aren't even for the people who go to Mars or the people who are born on Mars. It's the people who are born to the people who were born on Mars that are really gonna.
It's funny though, because like it's weird to think about the fact that everything's gonna feel normal to them. They're gonna be born on Mars just like we were born on Earth,
And
they're gonna go, oh yeah, this is our home planet. And it's like,
And we have no idea what's gonna happen
No clue.
to people born on Mars. If they're gonna be incredibly tall or if they're gonna have tons of
Yeah,
problems.
that's a very exciting,
Yeah.
interesting thing to
I mean,
just
it's
think
like-
about. Yeah.
If it's even viable.
Or maybe they'll speak Martian.
But
yeah,
That's what I think.
it presents a lot of interesting questions, but ones that I think that we need to answer if we're going to, like Musk says, become an interplanetary species, which, like Musk says, is necessary for the survival of humankind, which I think is important.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for watching, everybody. This was episode 2, and we'll be back for episode 3 next week.
Awesome.
So make sure you stay tuned. And please comment below about what you think is going to happen next week, because now that we've lost our commander,
Anything can happen now.
anything could happen.
All bets are off.
He might come back. I feel like he
Who
might come
knows?
back.
yeah.
Resurrection.
Yeah.
We never really completely parted ways.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't see like that he's had to stop breathing. We
Yeah.
we heard farewell.
Right.
Yeah.
He could come back. He's strong. Come on, Ben.
So the only reason I don't think he did is because the way she said he died,
Yeah.
as if she was narrating it from the future.
Although she wanted to be commander.
She
probably.
did.
Right.
Maybe she killed him.
So she made the
he's
she made the
dead.
malfunction happen. She made the malfunction happen in the first episode.
Yeah.
It was all a conspiracy.
And hopefully, you know, after this show ends and we've kind of seen everything, you know, with the next few years coming, I hope that we can continue to talk about real
Oh yeah.
facts about what's going
Oh, yeah.
on and
We'll
what's
be talking
actually going to
Mars for
happen.
years to come.
It's going to be very exciting, so stay tuned for all our episodes because
That's right.
it's going to be very cool.
Thanks for watching.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Oh no!
What is it, Brent?
I think it must be my spleen.
Oh no! To save Brent's life, you must subscribe.
Deep burn.
Subscribe below.
Oh, it's so
Quickly, help him. Subscribe.
deep. Spleen is bleeding.
Let's get our subscribe numbers up.
definitely bleeding.
Quick, get the subscribe numbers up. Subscribe.